我是17年的时候通过湖南省特岗的考试，然后也是对一个农村的热爱吧，然后来到这里当了一名体育老师。刚开始我作为他们班主任的时候，他们就知道我是体育老师，所以他们也很希望来跟我练这个篮球，但是他们又很害羞，会觉得啊，打篮球。
It has always been clear throughout history the importance that sports can play in the lives of young people. It builds so many important social characteristics, solidifies a sense of camaraderie and teamwork, a sense of self-worth. And that's absolutely what these girls need, especially when they're unfortunately being raised in a world that doesn't necessarily always prioritize them over their male counterparts. But they do not let that bring them down. As we see here, in fact, they use it to lift themselves up even further. And while it's unfortunate that this team ultimately had to be dissolved, what we know for sure from watching this documentary and hearing their stories is that their resilience and their determination will not be dissolved by any setback. It will only push them to work even harder to achieve all the beautiful dreams that they have in their life, despite many of the hardships that they've come to have to face.
Throughout this journey, we get to see these young girls find their passions. And I think the story is about not only finding your passion for what you love, and it may be something that is athletic and healing, but also about failure and not being able to do something you love despite you working hard for it, but in a sense, redefining your relationship with your passions. And just because you might not necessarily be able to pursue your passion in the way you ideally had started or continue to build and shape, life doesn't work out that way sometimes, and we get to see this real life experience of this coming of age story, essentially, of an experience like that. You know, these girls didn't necessarily have the chances to compete in the ways that they had foreseen for themselves, but in a sense, they've redefined their journey to still be able to explore their passions and still keep having goals, even though it might not ideally be the way that they had originally intended it to go.
I loved the cinematography. It was really interesting to kind of get to know and to see how the culture was working to where girls really, in the past may not have played basketball there, but there's no reason why they shouldn't. And having that be encouraged and fostered so it can grow, I just think is amazing. Um, I loved that. I loved all of the interviews. I thought that they were really educational. So sad to see that the school couldn't continue the basketball program, but I'm so glad that the girls are still pursuing the things that they love and the dreams that they have. So, yeah, the music in this was great. Cinematography was great. The storyline was really nice, and it was really enjoyable to see this.
This highlighted how much sports can have an impact in like young people's lives and kids' lives, and also the importance of prioritizing and making sports available and accessible for young girls, and making sure they feel comfortable actually going for those sports and actually competing and feeling like they can try and they can, you know, be competitive and they can, be athletic and all of these, different kind of things that I think we've made a lot of progress with in society in general, but there still needs to be that kind of importance put on it. There still needs to be that kind of intention set, because I think that it's still not kind of like a given as much as it is for young boys, especially. So I really loved how much they highlighted that it not like that how much of a difference getting into sports and having the support of not only your school but also of your family, of it's the coaches and things like that, how big of a difference, how big of an impact it can have, and how much sports in general can really enhance and change your life. Like, it can give you opportunities in education. If it's not as feasible for your family, you can, break out of a location or a town or a city or a region that you maybe thought you would never be able to. And I think that that's so powerful. And especially learning about like a small, rural, struggling, kind of education and community in all women's basketball team, and the impact that they've been able to have, I think, is really, really inspiring.
It was a real window into the life of a young girl and her basketball team. I appreciated all the footage of the girl and her family. They were so entertaining in their banter and laughter together, and also candidly recounted their challenges. The aerial views of the province were gorgeous, lots of lush trees and valleys. I also enjoyed the drone shots of the kids playing basketball below. The film was very enlightening about the importance of this sport in the community. The upbeat soundtrack worked well for the exciting tone of the piece. Awesome camera work so near the basketball action of the faces of the participants, the fans, and the coaches. It's inspiring to see such an interest in basketball in China, a sport invented in Canada.